When 7-year-old German Shepherd Rex was told to wait on a park bench in Buffalo, New York, he believed his owner would return. He had no way of knowing that the man who promised to come back was already forgetting Rex existed. For 365 days, Rex sat through brutal snowstorms, scorching summers, and endless lonely nights. The whole world watched his story unfold on social media. Families begged to adopt him. Animal experts called his loyalty extraordinary. But Rex refused to leave. Then, 10-year-old Jamie Peterson arrived at Riverside Park during the worst blizzard in Buffalo's history. She was lost, freezing, and crying for help. For the first time in 365 days, Rex left his post. What happened next would change everything Rex thought he knew about love, loyalty, and letting go. This is the true story of the most faithful dog in America, and the little girl who taught him that sometimes the greatest act of loyalty is learning to love again. March 15, 2023, Riverside Park, Buffalo, New York. The wooden bench felt cold under Rex's belly, but he didn't move. Raindrops hit his thick black and tan fur, making him shiver. But good dogs wait. Good dogs stay where they're told. "I'll be right back, boy," the old man had said. His voice was shaky like always. "Just wait here for me." That was this morning. Now the sky was getting dark. Rex's brown eyes watched every person who walked by. A mom pushed her baby in a stroller. 2 teenagers rode bikes on the path. An old woman walked her small white dog. But none of them were his person. Thunder crashed overhead. The storm was getting worse. Rex's ears went flat against his head. He was scared of loud noises, but he was more scared of missing his owner when he came back. "Hey there, big guy." Rex looked up. A man in a green uniform stood nearby. He had kind eyes and a gentle voice. Rex's tail wagged once, but he didn't leave his spot. "I'm Miguel," the man said. "I work here at the park. Where's your owner, buddy?" Rex tilted his head. This stranger smelled like grass and coffee, not like his person, who smelled like old books and medicine. Miguel stepped closer. "You're soaked, boy. Let me see your collar." Rex let the man touch his neck. The name tag jingled as Miguel read it. "Rex," Miguel said. "That's a strong name. But where's your phone number? How do I call your family?" Rex didn't understand all the words, but he heard his name. His tail wagged again. Then he looked back at the path, watching and waiting. Miguel pulled out his phone. "I better call this in. You can't stay out here all night." More people walked by. Rex's head turned at every footstep, every voice, every car door that slammed in the parking lot. But still, no one came for him. A little girl ran up to her dad. "Look at the pretty dog," she said. "Don't touch him, sweetie," her father said. "He might be lost." Rex wasn't lost. He knew exactly where he was. This was their favorite bench. This was where they came every sunny day. This was where his person said to wait. The rain got harder. People ran to their cars. The park emptied. Out, streetlights flickered on, making puddles shine like mirrors. Rex's stomach made a loud growling sound. He was hungry. When was the last time he ate? This morning? Yesterday? Time felt mixed up. A white van pulled into the parking lot. Rex's ears perked up. Was this his person? Had he gotten a new car? 2 people got out. They wore uniforms and carried ropes and cages. Rex's heart beat faster. These weren't his people. These were strangers who wanted to take him away. "There he is," one of them said. The dog the park worker called about. Rex jumped off the bench and ran into the bushes. He was fast for a 7-year-old dog. The thick trees hid him from view. "Here, boy," the woman called. "We want to help you." Rex stayed hidden. He could hear them walking around, looking for him. They had food that smelled good. His empty stomach hurt, but he couldn't leave. What if his person came back and he wasn't here? After a long time, the IBB strangers gave up. The white van drove away. Rex waited until he was sure they were gone. Then he crept back to his bench. The rain had stopped, but everything was wet. Rex shook the water from his fur. He was cold and hungry and scared. But he was also loyal. German Shepherds were the most loyal dogs in the world. Everyone said so. He curled up on the bench. His thick coat would keep him warm enough. Tomorrow would be better. Tomorrow, his person would come back and everything would be okay. As Rex closed his eyes, he didn't know that this was just the beginning. He didn't know that 364 more days would pass before anyone could help him understand the truth. He only knew one thing: good dogs wait. And Rex was the goodest dog of all. The park grew quiet except for the sound of cars on the nearby street. Rex's breathing slowed as he drifted off to sleep. In his dreams, he heard a familiar voice calling his name. "Rex, good boy, I'm coming back for you." He dreamed of warm hands petting his head. He dreamed of his favorite treats. He dreamed of going home. But when morning came, Rex would still be alone on the bench, waiting for a promise that would never be kept. The sun rose pink and orange over Buffalo's skyline. Rex opened his eyes and stretched his stiff legs. His fur was still damp from yesterday's rain. His stomach felt empty and sore. But hope filled his heart. Today was a new day. Today, his person would come back. Rex sat up tall on the bench. He faced the main path where people walk their dogs. His ears pointed forward like two furry triangles. Every sound made him alert. Every shadow made his tail twitch. At 8 o'clock, Miguel arrived for work. He carried a thermos of coffee and a paper bag. "Morning, Rex," Miguel said softly. "I brought you something." He pulled a ham sandwich from the bag. Rex's nose twitched. It smelled amazing. But he only ate half. He needed to save his strength for when his owner returned. "Good boy," Miguel whispered, "but you can't stay here forever." Rex didn't understand why everyone wanted him to leave. This was where he belonged. This was where he was supposed to wait. By the second week, Rex had learned the park's schedule. Dog walkers came at 7 in the morning and 6 at night. Joggers ran by every hour. Kids played on the swings after school. Rex watched them all, but none of them were his person. A woman named Sarah Chen visited Rex on his 10th day. She wore a uniform and drove the white van Rex remembered. She didn't try to catch him this time. Instead, she sat on the grass nearby. "Hello, Rex," she said. "I'm Sarah. I work with animal control." Rex's muscles tensed, ready to run, but Sarah didn't move closer. "I know you're waiting for someone," she continued, "but they haven't come back. Maybe they can't come back. Maybe they need help finding you." Rex tilted his head. Her voice was kind, but her words didn't make sense. His person knew where to find him. They came to this bench every day before whatever happened that made him leave. Sarah left a bowl of fresh water and a warm blanket. "I'll check on you tomorrow," she promised. On day 15, something new happened. A reporter arrived with a big camera. "This is Jennifer Walsh from WGRZ News," the woman said into a microphone. "I'm here at Riverside Park, where a German Shepherd has been waiting for his missing owner for over 2 weeks." More people gathered around. Rex didn't like crowds, but he stayed on his bench. Good dogs don't run away. "Excuse me, sir," Jennifer said to an old man with a cane. "What do you think about this dog's loyalty?" The man looked at Rex with sad eyes. "That dog has more loyalty than most people I know," he said. "Someone taught him to be faithful. Someone loved him very much." Rex's tail wagged at the word love. He knew that word. His person said it every night when they went to bed. After the news story aired that evening, everything changed. People started coming just to see Rex. They brought blankets, toys, and food. Some cried when they saw him sitting alone on his bench. A young mother with 2 kids visited every afternoon. "Mom, why doesn't he just find a new family?" her daughter asked. "Some hearts are so full of love. They can only love one person." The Aidi mother explained. Rex didn't understand all their words, but he felt their kindness. Still, none of them smelled like old books and medicine. None of them had the shaky voice he was waiting to hear. By day 20, Rex was famous. People posted his picture on something called Facebook. The hashtag #ShoeRexTheWaiter spread across the internet. Families drove from other cities just to meet him. But fame couldn't fill the empty space in Rex's heart. On day 25, Rex got sick. The weather was still cold, and he wasn't eating enough. His nose felt hot and dry. His energy was low. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez heard about Rex on the news. She came to the park with her medical bag and some hamburger meat with medicine hidden inside. "I can't examine you properly," she told Rex from far away, "but I can help a little." Rex ate the meat, gratefully. Within a few days, he felt stronger. Dr. Rodriguez visited twice a week after that, always keeping her distance, always helping however she could. The people who visited Rex every day started calling themselves Friends of Rex. They included Mary Patterson, a retired teacher who brought fresh water daily. Tom Bradley, a construction worker, built a small wooden shelter next to the bench when April showers started. The Kowalski family owned a pizza shop on Elmwood Avenue. They brought Rex leftover meatballs every Sunday after church. "He's part of our community now," Mrs. Kowalski said. "We take care of our own." But even with all this love and support, Rex never forgot why he was there. Every morning, he took his position on the bench. Every evening, he watched the sun set over the park, paths, and every day, he waited. On day 30, something strange happened. A man in a dark coat stood across the park, watching Rex. He didn't come closer. He didn't call out. He just stood there for a long time, then walked away. Rex's ears perked up. Something about that man seemed familiar. The way he stood, the way he moved. But when Rex blinked, the man was gone. That night, Rex dreamed about the man in the dark coat. In his dream, the man was crying. When Rex woke up, he felt more confused than ever. Who was that man? Why did he seem so sad? And why didn't he come? Closer? Rex shook his head and returned to his watching position. It didn't matter who that stranger was. Rex was waiting for someone specific. Someone who smelled like old books and medicine. Someone who called him "good boy" in a shaky, loving voice. Rex would wait as long as it took, even if it took forever. He didn't know that the man in the dark coat held the key to everything. He didn't know that some promises are broken, not by choice, but by circumstances too sad to understand. Rex only knew how to be faithful, and faithful he would remain. April brought warm sunshine to Buffalo. The snow melted away, and green grass pushed up through the dirt. Rex's thick winter coat started to shed in patches. Clumps of black and tan fur blew around the park like tumbleweeds. Children pointed and giggled when they saw the fur floating by. "Look, Mom, the dog is molting like a bird." Rex didn't mind. Losing his heavy coat felt good, but he was getting thinner under all that fur. Dr. Rodriguez watched him through her binoculars from across the park. "He's losing weight," she told Mary Patterson, the retired teacher who brought water every day. "But his eyes are still bright. He's still healthy enough." Mary nodded sadly. "I just wish he'd eat more. He only takes a few bites of everything." We bring. Rex saved his appetite for his person. When his owner returned, they would share a big meal together like they used to. Rex remembered those dinners. Warm meat from a can, fresh water in his favorite blue bowl, and always gentle hands petting his head while he ate. By May, the Friends of Rex group had grown to over 50 people. They met every Saturday morning at the park. Tom Bradley had built a proper shelter with a slanted roof to keep rain out. Mrs. Kowalski donated a soft bed that smelled like pizza sauce, but Rex still preferred his bench. The shelter was nice for sleeping, but the bench was where his person had left him. The bench was where his person would look first. Memorial Day weekend brought Buffalo's first big festival of the year. The Allentown Art Festival filled the nearby streets with music and food trucks. Thousands of people walked through Riverside Park. Rex got nervous with so many strangers around. His ears stayed flat, and he panted heavily. But he never left his post. A park volunteer named Lisa put up a rope barrier around Rex's area to keep crowds from getting too close. "He's not a zoo animal," Lisa explained to curious visitors. "He's a heartbroken dog who needs space." 8-year-old Jamie Peterson visited Rex for the first time that weekend. She came with her mom, Linda, who had seen the news story about the faithful German Shepherd. "Can I pet him?" Jamie asked. "Better not, honey," her mom said. "He doesn't know us." But Jamie sat on the grass near Rex's bench anyway. She didn't try to touch him. She just talked quietly. "Hi, Rex," she said. "My name is Jamie. I have a hamster named Buttons, but I always wanted a big dog like you." Rex looked at the little girl. She had kind eyes and a gentle voice. She didn't rush toward him like other children did. "I think you're the bravest dog in the world," Jamie continued. "Mom says you're waiting for someone special. I hope they come back soon." Rex's tail gave a small wag. This child understood. She knew he wasn't just a lost dog. He was a dog with a mission. June arrived with Buffalo's famous humidity. The air felt thick and sticky. Rex's tongue hung out as he panted in the heat. The Friends of Rex group bought a battery-powered fan and set it up near his shelter. "This should help, Tom," Bradley said, adjusting the fan's angle. German Shepherds weren't made for this weather. Rex was grateful for the cool air, but he worried about his person. What if the old man came back on a hot day like this? What if he got overheated looking for Rex? Rex needed to be visible and ready. The mystery man in the dark coat appeared again in late June. This time, Frank Morrison, an elderly park regular, noticed him too. "Hey," Frank called out. "You there in the coat. You've been watching that dog for months. What's your story?" The man froze like a deer caught in headlights. Then he turned and walked quickly toward the parking lot. Frank tried to follow, but his old legs couldn't keep up. "Wait!" he shouted. "We just want to help." But the stranger disappeared into the crowd of festival goers. Frank returned to Rex's bench, scratching his head. "That was weird, boy," Frank told Rex. "That guy knows something about you. I can feel it." Rex had felt it too. Every time the man appeared, Rex's heart beat faster. Not from fear, but from something else. Something like hope? But why would a stranger make him feel hopeful? July brought the hottest temperatures Buffalo had seen in years. The thermometer hit 95 degrees for 5 days straight. Rex laid panting in whatever shade he could find. His thick coat, so perfect for winter, became a burden in the summer heat. Dr. Rodriguez couldn't stand watching Rex suffer. One evening, when the park was nearly empty, she crept close to his shelter. Rex was sleeping, exhausted from the heat. Moving. Quickly and quietly, Dr. Rodriguez managed to give Rex a shot to prevent heartworm disease. She also trimmed some of the matted fur around his neck and gave him a cool bath with a wet towel. Rex woke up feeling much better. He looked around for whoever had helped him, but Dr. Rodriguez had already slipped away. He found a bowl of ice, water, and a note that said, "Stay strong, brave boy. A friend." The community worried that Rex might not survive the heat wave. Local news stations ran updates about his condition. The hashtag #ChotcherSaveRex started trending on social media. People from across the country sent money to buy Rex better fans and cooling mats. But the most important visitor came on a scorching Thursday afternoon. Jamie Peterson, now almost 9 years old, arrived with her mother and a special gift. "We brought you something, Rex," Jamie said, pulling a small blue bowl from her backpack. Rex's ears perked up. The bowl looked familiar. It was the same size and color as his favorite water dish from before. From home. "Mom helped me find it at the pet store," Jamie explained. "I had a dream about you drinking from a blue bowl. Isn't that weird?" Rex approached the bowl cautiously. Jamie filled it with cool water from a thermos. When Rex drank, the water tasted perfect. Better than any water he'd had in months. "Yacht you had a dream about Rex?" Linda Peterson asked her daughter. Jamie nodded. "I dream about him sometimes. I see him in a small apartment with an old man who uses a walking stick. The man loves Rex so much. But then..." Jamie's voice trailed off. "But then what, honey? I don't know. The dreams always get fuzzy at the end. But I think something sad happened. Something that wasn't anyone's fault." Rex finished drinking and looked up at Jamie. For a moment, their eyes met. Rex felt something he hadn't felt in months. He felt understood. As summer continued, Rex's bond with Jamie grew stronger. She visited every Saturday, always bringing the blue bowl. Sometimes she read him stories from library books. Sometimes she just sat quietly, keeping him company. Rex still watched for his person every day. He still hoped every morning would be the day of their reunion. But Jamie's presence made the waiting a little less lonely. He didn't know that Jamie's dreams were about to reveal the truth that would change everything. He didn't know that the man in the dark coat was getting ready to step out of the shadows. Rex only knew that summer was ending, and autumn would bring new challenges. Would his person return before winter came again? Could Rex survive another brutal Buffalo winter on this bench? Days 121 to 180. Late summer. The answers were coming sooner than anyone expected. August in Buffalo was always hot, but this year felt different. Rex had survived the worst heat wave in the city's history, but it had taken a toll. His ribs showed through his fur now. Dr. Rodriguez counted them sadly through her binoculars. "He needs to eat more," she told Miguel during one of their morning check-ins. Miguel shook his head. "I've tried everything. Chicken, beef, even bacon. He takes a few bites and stops. It's like he's saving room for someone else. Rex was saving room. Every morning, his stomach felt empty and sore. But what if his person came back hungry too? What if they needed to share a meal like they used to? Rex had to be ready. On a hot Tuesday morning, everything changed. A silver car pulled into the parking lot. A man and woman got out with their 2 children. They walked straight toward Rex's bench. "There he is," the father said, "the famous waiting dog." The mother carried a bag full of toys and treats. "Rex," she called softly, "we drove 3 hours from Rochester to meet you." Rex's ears perked up at his name. These people seemed nice, but they weren't his person. "We have a big yard," the father continued, "and our kids love dogs. We lost our German Shepherd last year, and we've been hoping to adopt another one." The children, a boy and girl about 10 years old, sat down near Rex's bench. The girl pulled out a rope toy. "Do you want to play fetch?" she asked Rex. "Our dog Buddy loved this game." Rex sniffed the toy politely. It smelled like other dogs and happiness. But Rex didn't feel like playing. He felt like waiting. The family stayed for 2 hours. They offered Rex hamburgers from the nearby food truck. They showed him pictures on their phone of their house and yard. The kids even demonstrated how they would pet him and brush his fur. "He seems sweet," the mother said. "But why won't he come with us? We're offering him a real home." Miguel, who had been watching from nearby, approached the family. "Rex doesn't understand that his owner isn't coming back," he explained. "He thinks this is temporary. He thinks he just needs to wait a little longer." The family from Rochester finally gave up. As they walked back to their car, the little girl looked over her shoulder at Rex. "I hope you find who you're looking for," she said sadly. That afternoon, Channel 7 News returned to do a follow-up story. Reporter Jennifer Walsh interviewed Dr. Michael Stevens from the University at Buffalo. He was an expert on animal behavior. "This dog is showing remarkable loyalty," Dr. Stevens explained to the camera. "German Shepherds were bred to be working dogs, partners with humans. When they bond with someone, that bond can last their entire life." "But is it healthy for Rex to keep waiting?" Jennifer asked. Dr. Stevens looked at Rex, sitting patiently on his bench. Rex truly believes his owner will return. In his mind, leaving this spot would be giving up hope. For Rex, hope is more important than comfort. The interview aired that evening across western New York. By the next morning, Rex had 3 more adoption offers. A retired couple from Albany called the park office. "We have experience with senior dogs," the woman explained. "We understand loyalty and patience." A young man from Syracuse drove down the next day. "I lost my German Shepherd in a car accident," he told Miguel through tears. "I know Rex is heartbroken too. Maybe we could heal together." Even more touching was the offer from the Chen family in Tonawanda. Their son David had autism, and they thought Rex might make a good therapy dog. "Our boy doesn't talk much," Mrs. Chen explained, "but he loves animals. He saw Rex on the news and hasn't stopped asking about him." Miguel had to turn them all away. Rex wouldn't budge from his bench for any of them. Jamie Peterson visited Rex that Saturday like always. She was 9 years old now and taller than she'd been in the spring. Her dreams about Rex had become more vivid and more frequent. "I saw you again last night," she told Rex quietly. "You were younger in the dream. Your fur was brighter black, and the old man with the walking stick was younger too." Rex tilted his head. This girl always said strange things that somehow made sense. "In my dream, you were learning to catch a frisbee in a small apartment. The man threw it, and you brought it back every time." You were so happy." Rex's tail wagged slightly. He remembered catching frisbees. They had a red one that squeaked when he bit it. But then the dream changed, Jamie continued. The man got older and more confused. Sometimes he forgot your name. Sometimes he forgot to feed you. But you never forgot him. Jamie's mother, Linda, overheard this conversation. She sat down next to her daughter on the grass. "Jamie, honey, these dreams you've been having. Do you think Rex's owner might have been sick? Maybe too sick to remember where he left Rex?" Jamie nodded seriously. "In my dreams, the man gets lost a lot. Like his brain isn't working right. And there's someone else too. Someone who looks like the man but younger. Someone who's very sad." Rex's ears perked up higher. The younger man. The one who sometimes appeared in the dark coat across the park. Rex felt that familiar flutter of hope mixed with confusion. That weekend brought the taste of Buffalo Food Festival. The smell of chicken wings and beef on weck filled the air. Thousands of people crowded the streets near Riverside Park. Rex felt overwhelmed by all the noise and activity. His safe, quiet park had become a busy fairground. Children ran everywhere. Music played loudly from speakers. Car horns honked in the traffic jams. During the busiest part of Saturday afternoon, Rex saw him again. The man in the dark coat stood at the edge of the crowd, watching. This time, Frank Morrison was ready. "There's that guy again," Frank told Mary Patterson. "I'm going to find out who he is." Frank walked purposefully toward the man, but the stranger saw him coming. Instead of running away this time, the man pulled out his phone and made a call. Frank could see his lips moving, but couldn't hear the words. After a few minutes, the man hung up and walked away again. But this time, he dropped something. A small piece of paper fluttered to the ground. Frank picked it up and read it. His face went pale. "Mary!" he called out. "You need to see this." The paper had a name and phone number written in shaky handwriting. "Robert Mitchell. If found, please call Thomas at 716-555-0147. "This is Rex's owner," Frank said, his voice shaking. "And Thomas must be that man in the coat. But why doesn't he just take Rex home?" Mary stared at the paper. "Maybe he can't. Maybe something happened to Robert Mitchell. Something that Thomas is afraid to tell us." That night, Rex had trouble sleeping. Too many new smells from the festival lingered in the air. Too many questions swirled in his mind. The man in the dark coat seemed important, but Rex couldn't figure out why. In his dreams, Rex saw flashes of memory. A small apartment with sunlight coming through the windows. Gentle hands filling his food bowl. A voice saying, "Good boy, Rex. You're such a good boy." But in his dreams, the voice got quieter and more confused as time went on. And always, there was sadness. So much sadness that Rex woke up with tears in his fur. He didn't understand why his dreams made him cry. He didn't understand why the man in the dark coat watched, but never approached. He didn't understand why his person hadn't come back yet. Rex only understood one thing. Tomorrow, he would return to his bench. Tomorrow, he would watch and wait. Tomorrow might be the day everything made sense. But deep in his heart, Rex was starting to fear that some kinds of waiting never end. Some kinds of faithfulness lead only to more questions, not answers. Still, he would wait. Because that's what good dogs do. Days 181-270, fall and early winter. September brought cooler air to Buffalo. The leaves on the trees around Riverside Park turned gold and red. Rex's thick winter coat started growing back, preparing for the cold months ahead. Frank Morrison had been carrying the paper with Robert Mitchell's phone number for 2 weeks. Every day, he pulled it from his pocket and stared at the numbers. Every day he wondered if he should call. "What if we make things worse?" Mary Patterson asked during their Saturday morning meeting. "What if there's a good reason Thomas hasn't taken Rex home?" "What could be worse than this?" Frank replied, watching Rex shiver on his bench. "That dog has been waiting for 6 months. He deserves to know the truth." The Friends of Rex group had grown to over 100 people. They met every week now, planning how to help Rex through another brutal buffalo winter. Tom Bradley was building a larger shelter with better insulation. The Kowalski family had organized a fundraiser to buy Rex a heated dog bed. But everyone knew the real problem wasn't the cold. The real problem was Rex's broken heart. October brought Buffalo's famous lake effect snow earlier than usual. By Halloween, 3 inches covered the ground. Rex's old shelter wasn't enough anymore. The Friends of Rex worked with the city to install a proper insulated doghouse near his bench. Rex inspected his new home carefully. It was warm and dry inside, with thick blankets and a small battery-powered heater. But he still spent his days on the bench, watching the path where people walked. "Thank you," he seemed to say with his eyes when Tom Bradley showed him the new shelter. But Rex's gratitude couldn't hide his sadness. His ribs still showed through his fur. His eyes had lost some of their brightness. Jamie Peterson visited every Saturday, even when the weather got cold. She was 9 years old now and asked harder questions. "Mom, what if Rex's person died?" she asked one chilly afternoon. "What if that's why he's not coming back?" Linda Peterson didn't know how to answer. "Sometimes people can't come back, honey. Sometimes things happen that are nobody's fault." "But Rex doesn't know that," Jamie said sadly. "He still thinks his person chose to leave him." Rex's ears twitched at their conversation. He didn't understand all the words, but he felt their sadness. These humans cared about him. They wanted to help. But they couldn't bring back the one person Rex needed most. Thanksgiving. Week arrived with a massive snowstorm. Buffalo was used to snow, but this storm was different. Weather forecasters called it historic. Schools closed for 3 days. Many businesses shut down. The Salvation Army on Delaware Avenue organized a special Thanksgiving dinner for Rex. Volunteers trudged through knee-deep snow to bring him turkey, mashed potatoes, and green beans. "Every creature deserves a Thanksgiving feast," said volunteer coordinator Susan Walsh, "especially one who's taught us so much about loyalty." Rex ate more that day than he had in weeks. The warm food filled his empty stomach and gave him strength. But it also made him remember other Thanksgiving dinners. Dinners shared with gentle hands and a shaky voice saying, "Happy Thanksgiving, Rex. I'm thankful for you." December arrived, like a freight train. Buffalo's first major blizzard hit on December 10th, dumping 4 feet of snow in 3 days. The storm made national news as one of the worst in the city's history. Rex's shelter was buried completely. The Friends of Rex group organized emergency snow removal teams. They worked in shifts, digging paths to Rex's area every few hours. "We can't let him get trapped," Miguel said, shoveling furiously in the howling wind. "He'll freeze if he can't get to food and water." But on the storm's worst night, something happened that changed everything. 10-year-old Jamie Peterson was walking home from her friend's house on Elmwood Avenue. The snow was falling so hard she couldn't see 5 feet ahead. The streetlights looked like fuzzy dots in the white darkness. Jamie thought she knew the way home, but all the familiar landmarks were buried under snow. Every street looked the same. Every house was just a dark shape behind the swirling snow. Panic crept into her chest. She was lost. Really lost. "Mom!" she called out, but the wind swallowed her voice. Jamie stumbled through the deep snow, her boots filling with ice. Her hands were numb inside her mittens. Tears froze on her cheeks before they could fall. Somehow, she ended up in Riverside Park. The playground equipment looked like strange snow monsters in the darkness. Jamie couldn't find the paths. She couldn't find her way out. She sat down behind a large tree and started to cry. The snow kept falling harder. Her body started shaking uncontrollably. "Help me," she whispered. "Somebody please help me." That's when she heard it, a deep, familiar bark cutting through the storm. Rex had heard Jamie's cries from his shelter. For the first time in 270 days, he left his bench. He left his watching post. He followed the sound of someone in trouble. Rex found Jamie curled up, behind the tree, shivering and scared. Without hesitation, he lay down next to her, wrapping his thick body around her small frame. His fur was like a warm blanket in the freezing cold. "Rex?" Jamie whispered. "You came to find me?" Rex licked her face gently. His warm breath melted the ice crystals on her cheeks. He pressed closer, sharing every bit of his body heat. They stayed like that for what felt like hours. Jamie buried her face in Rex's thick neck fur. Rex kept his body between Jamie and the worst of the wind. Finally, they heard voices calling through the storm. "Jamie! Jamie Peterson!" "Over here," Jamie shouted back. "I'm over here with Rex." Flashlight beams cut through the snow. Search and rescue workers found them huddled together behind the tree. Jamie was cold, but alive. Rex was alert and protective. "The dog saved her life," one of the rescue workers said into his radio. "If he hadn't shared his body heat, she could have died from hypothermia." At Buffalo General Hospital, doctors checked Jamie for frostbite and exposure. She was cold and exhausted, but otherwise fine. "That dog is a hero," Dr. Sarah Martinez told Jamie's parents. "He left his post to save your daughter. That's extraordinary behavior." The story spread faster than the snowstorm. Local news picked it up first, then national outlets. Loyal dog breaks 270-day vigil to save lost child appeared on websites across the country. Rex became more than famous. He became a symbol of love, putting others first. But the most important change was in Jamie herself. As she recovered in her warm hospital bed, she looked at her mother with new understanding. "Mom, I know why I've been dreaming about Rex," she said. "I know who he's waiting for, and I know why that person can't come back." "What do you mean, honey?" "Rex's person didn't leave him on purpose. Something happened to his mind, like Grandpa when he got sick and forgot things. Rex is waiting for someone who can't remember Rex anymore." Linda Peterson felt chills that had nothing to do with the cold outside. "How do you know that?" "Because when Rex saved me tonight, I felt everything he was feeling. All his memories, all his sadness. His person loved him so much. But then, his person got lost inside his own mind." Jamie looked out the hospital window at the snow still falling. "And I think the man in the dark coat is that person's son. He's been watching Rex because he feels guilty. He knows Rex is waiting for someone who's never coming back, but he doesn't know how to explain it." Rex had returned to his bench after the rescue workers took Jamie away. He sat in the falling snow, looking more tired than ever. But something in his eyes had changed. For the first time in months, Rex looked like he was ready to hear the truth. 3-2, storm was ending, But the real storm in Rex's heart was just beginning. Tomorrow, everything would be different. Tomorrow, the man in the dark coat would finally step out of the shadows. Days 271, 330, winter. But first, Rex had to understand what he had done. The morning after the blizzard, Rex returned to his bench like always. But something felt different. People looked at him with new eyes. Instead of pity, he saw respect. Instead of sadness, he saw admiration. "You're a hero now, boy," Miguel said, bringing Rex's morning water. "The whole world knows what you did for that little girl." Rex didn't understand the word hero. He only knew that when Jamie cried for help, he had to answer. It felt as natural as breathing. Jamie came to visit Rex 3 days after leaving the hospital. She walked slowly through the snow, still weak from her ordeal, but her eyes were bright with purpose. "Hi, Rex," she said softly, sitting on the cleared space next to his bench. "Thank you for saving me." Rex's tail wagged harder than it had in months. This little girl was safe. She was warm and alive. That felt more important than anything else. "I need to tell you something," Jamie continued. "While we were in the storm together, I felt what you were feeling. I saw what you were remembering." Rex tilted his head. This child always said strange things, but they usually made sense somehow. "I saw the apartment where you lived. I saw the man with the walking stick who loved you so much. His name was Robert, wasn't it?" At the sound of that name, Rex's ears shot up. His whole body became alert. How did Jamie know that name? Robert took care of you for years and years. He taught you to catch frisbees. He shared his dinner with you every night. He called you his best friend. Rex's tail wagged faster. Yes, that was right. That was how it used to be. But then Robert got sick. Jamie's voice became gentler. Not sick with a fever or a cold. Sick in his mind. He started forgetting things. Important things. Rex whined softly. He remembered the confusion. The days when Robert forgot to feed him. The nights when Robert couldn't remember Rex's name. The day he brought you to this park. Robert's mind was having a very bad day. He forgot. He had you with him. He forgot to come back. Jamie's mother, Linda, had followed her daughter to the park. She listened to this conversation with growing amazement. "Jamie, honey, how do you know all this?" "I told you, Mom. I felt it when Rexy saved me." All his memories became my memories for a little while. Linda Peterson was a practical woman, but she couldn't deny what she was hearing. Jamie knew things about Rex that no one else knew. "There's more," Jamie said, turning back to Rex. "Robert had a son named Thomas. Thomas has been watching you all this time. He's the man in the dark coat." Rex's heart began beating faster. The man in the shadows. The one who felt familiar but wrong somehow. Thomas wanted to take you home, but you didn't recognize him. You only knew Robert. And Thomas felt so guilty about what happened. He blamed himself for not watching his father more carefully that day. Christmas arrived with more snow but gentler weather. The Friends of Rex group decorated his shelter with battery-powered lights and garland. Children from nearby schools made him paper snowflake ornaments. Rex appreciated their kindness, but the holidays made him sadder. He remembered other Christmases, a small artificial tree in a warm apartment, presents wrapped in newspaper, Robert's shaky hands giving him special treats. Jamie visited Rex on Christmas Day, bringing him a gift wrapped in bright red paper. "Go ahead, open it," she said with a smile. Rex carefully pulled at the paper with his teeth. Inside was a red frisbee that squeaked when he touched it, just like the one from his memories. I asked my mom to find one exactly like Robert used to throw for you, Jamie explained. Rex picked up the frisbee gently in his mouth. The squeak brought back so many happy memories. For a moment, he almost felt like playing. But then he remembered where he was. He was supposed to be waiting. Good dogs wait where they're told. Rex set the frisbee down carefully and returned to his watching position. "It's okay," Jamie said. "You can keep it for when you're ready." New Year's Eve in Buffalo was always cold and loud. Fireworks exploded over the Niagara River at midnight. The booming sounds echoed through Riverside Park. Rex hated loud noises. Thunder, fireworks, car backfires. They all made him shake and hide. But this year was different. Jamie had asked her parents if she could stay with Rex during the fireworks. They set up a small tent near his shelter so she could keep him company. When the first firework exploded, Rex trembled and tried to run. But Jamie was there. "It's okay, boy," she whispered, gently covering his ears with her mittened hands. "I'm here. You're not alone." Rex pressed against Jamie's small body. Her warmth and calmness helped him feel safe. For the first time in almost a year, Rex didn't face his fears alone. As the fireworks continued, Jamie talked quietly to Rex about all kinds of things: school, her friends, her favorite movies. Normal, everyday things that had nothing to do with waiting or sadness. "You know what I think?" Jamie said as the last firework faded away. "I think Robert would want you to be happy. I think he'd want you to play with that red frisbee. I think he'd want you to have friends and warm dinners and people who love you." Rex looked at Jamie with those deep brown eyes that had seen so much patience and pain. "I think Robert knew he was getting sicker," Jamie continued. "I think maybe, in his heart, he brought you to this park hoping someone would find you. Someone who could take care of you when he couldn't anymore." As they sat together in the quiet after midnight, Rex felt something shift inside his chest. The tight knot of waiting that had lived there for 330 days loosened just a little. Maybe this little girl was right. Maybe good dogs didn't always have to wait. Maybe sometimes good dogs were supposed to accept love from new people. On New Year's Day, something extraordinary happened. Jamie was reading Rex a story from her favorite book when a familiar figure appeared at the edge of the park. The man in the dark coat stood by the parking lot, just like he had dozens of times before. But this time, he wasn't hiding. This time, he was looking directly at Rex and Jamie. Their eyes met across the snowy park. Rex felt that familiar flutter of recognition. Jamie felt something too, a sense that this moment had been waiting to happen for a very long time. The man took one step forward, then stopped. His face was full of sadness and hope and fear all mixed together. "That's him," Jamie whispered to Rex. "That's Thomas, Robert's son." Rex stood up from his bench. For the second time in a year, he stepped away from his waiting spot. But this time, he wasn't running to rescue someone. This time, he was walking toward the truth. Thomas Mitchell saw Rex moving toward him and began to cry. After 330 days of watching from a distance, his father's beloved dog was finally ready to meet him. The answers Rex had been waiting for were finally within reach. But would they bring comfort or more heartbreak? Only one way to find out. Days 331, 365, the final month. Rex took 3 steps toward the man in the dark coat, then stopped. Something deep in his memory stirred. The way this man stood, the shape of his shoulders, the way he held his hands. Thomas Mitchell stood frozen by the parking lot. For almost a year, he had dreamed of this moment, but now that it was happening, he couldn't move. "Go to him," Jamie whispered to Rex. "He's been waiting too." Rex took another step, then another. Each step felt like breaking an invisible chain that had held him to the bench for 330 days. Thomas's eyes filled with tears. "Rex?" he called softly. "Do you remember me?" Rex stopped walking. The voice was familiar but different from the one he was waiting for. Younger, stronger. But it carried the same sadness that Rex felt in his own heart. "I'm Thomas," the man said, kneeling down in the snow. "I'm Robert's son. Your dad's son." At the word Robert, Rex's tail gave a small wag, but he didn't come closer. Jamie stood up and walked toward Thomas. Her mother started to follow, but Linda Peterson stopped herself. This moment belonged to Jamie, Rex, and Thomas. "You're Thomas Mitchell," Jamie said. It wasn't a question. Thomas looked at this small girl with surprise. "How do you know my name?" Rex told me, Jamie said simply. "Not with words, with feelings. He's been seeing you in his dreams, but he didn't understand who you were." Thomas wiped tears from his cheeks. "I've been watching him for almost a year. I wanted to take him home so many times, but he didn't recognize me. He only knew my father." Jamie nodded. "Rex needs to understand what happened to Robert. He needs to know it wasn't his fault." "What wasn't his fault?" Thomas asked. "That Robert never came back." Thomas Mitchell was 45 years old, but in that moment, he felt like a lost child. He had carried this guilt for 330 days. The weight of it had nearly broken him. "My father had dementia," Thomas began, his voice shaking. "Early stages, but getting worse. Some days he was fine. Some days he forgot simple things. I should have been watching him more carefully." Rex sat down in the snow, listening to the tone of Thomas's voice. Even though he didn't understand all the words, he could feel the pain in them. "March 15th was a bad day for Dad," Thomas continued. "He was confused that morning. I had to work, and I thought he'd be okay for a few hours. He'd been fine the day before." Jamie moved closer to Thomas. "What happened that day?" "Dad told me he was taking Rex for a walk to Riverside Park. They came here almost every day when the weather was nice. It was their routine." Thomas looked at Rex with fresh tears. "But when I got home from work, only Dad was there. He was confused and scared. He didn't remember Rex at all." Rex whined softly. He remembered that day. The confusion in Robert's eyes. The way his person had seemed lost even before he walked away. "I searched everywhere," Thomas said. "I drove around the neighborhood for hours. I came to this park, but it was getting dark, and I couldn't find Rex anywhere." "But you found him the next morning," Jamie said. Thomas nodded. "I came back at sunrise. There he was, sitting on this bench. But when I called his name, he just stared at me like I was a stranger. He was waiting for my father, not me." The truth was like a heavy stone in Thomas's chest. He had to get it all out. "I tried every day to get Rex to come with me. I brought his favorite treats. I brought Dad's old jacket that smelled like him. But Rex wouldn't budge. He was so loyal. To my father, he couldn't accept that Dad wasn't coming back." Thomas pulled out his phone and showed Jamie a photo. It was an old picture of Robert Mitchell in his army uniform with a young Rex as a puppy sitting proudly beside him. Dad got Rex as a therapy dog when his memory started getting bad. Rex was trained to help him remember to take his medicine, to stay calm when he got confused. They were best friends. Jamie looked at the photo. Then at Rex. "Show him the picture," she told Thomas. Thomas held the phone where Rex could see it. Rex's ears perked up immediately. He recognized the younger version of his person. His tail wagged faster than it had in months. Dad talked about Rex every day, even after he forgot he had a dog, Thomas said. Sometimes he'd ask me, "When is Rex coming home?" I never knew how to answer. The hardest part was still coming. Thomas took a deep breath. "Dad died on February 10th, he said quietly. Peacefully, in his sleep. The doctor said his heart just got tired. He never remembered Rex again after that day in March. Rex's tail stopped wagging. Even though he didn't understand the words, he felt the finality in Thomas's voice. Jamie knelt down next to Rex and put her arms around his neck. "Robert can't come back, Rex," she whispered. "But Thomas loves you too. He's been watching over you all this time because he promised his dad he'd take care of you." Thomas nodded through his tears. "The last coherent conversation I had with Dad, he made me promise to find Rex if anything ever happened to him, but I failed. I couldn't get Rex to trust me." "You didn't fail," Jamie said firmly. "Rex needed time to understand. He needed to learn that love doesn't end when someone dies. It just changes shape." Rex looked back and forth between Thomas and Jamie. Something in his chest was breaking, but it wasn't the kind of breaking that meant damage. It was the kind of breaking that meant healing. For 334 days, Rex had been waiting for Robert to come, back exactly as he was. But Robert was never coming back. The person Rex loved most in the world was gone forever. But Thomas was here. Thomas had Robert's eyes and Robert's gentle voice. Thomas had been watching and caring from a distance, just like Rex had been waiting and hoping. Maybe, Rex thought, this was what Robert had wanted all along. Maybe bringing Rex to this park wasn't an accident. Maybe Robert's sick mind had somehow known that Thomas would find them here. Rex stood up slowly. He walked toward Thomas, each step feeling lighter than the last. Thomas held out his hand, just like his father used to do. Rex sniffed it carefully. It smelled different from Robert's hands. But underneath the differences, Rex caught a familiar scent, the scent of family. Rex licked Thomas's hand once, then twice. Then he pressed his big head against Thomas's chest and let himself be hugged for the first time in almost a year. "I'm sorry, Rex," Thomas whispered into his fur. "I'm so sorry. It took me this long to help you understand." Rex didn't know the word sorry, but he understood forgiveness. He understood love that waits patiently. He understood loyalty that lasts, even when everything else changes. Jamie watched this reunion with tears streaming down her face. She had helped Rex find his way from waiting to acceptance, from loneliness to love. "What happens now?" she asked. "Thomas." Thomas looked at Rex, who was still pressed against his chest. "Now Rex comes home with me. Dad's apartment is gone, but I have a house with a yard. Rex can have his own room, his own toys, all the love he deserves." "And me?" Jamie asked quietly. "Can I still visit him?" Thomas smiled through his tears. "Jamie, you saved Rex's life. More than that, you saved his heart. You'll always be part of his family." Rex looked at Jamie and wagged his tail. He understood now. Good dogs don't wait forever. Good dogs learn to love again. Good dogs accept new families when their old ones can't take care of them anymore. But the best dogs never forget where their love began. As the sun set on Rex's 334th day in Riverside Park, he finally understood what Robert had been trying to tell him that March morning. Not wait here forever, but wait here until someone who loves you can take you home. That someone had been watching all along. That someone was ready now. It was time to stop waiting and start living again. Day 365, March 15th, 2024, the morning. Sun-painted Riverside Park in soft golden light. Exactly 1 year had passed since Rex first sat on his bench. Exactly 365 days since Robert Mitchell told his beloved dog to wait and never returned. But today was different. Today, Rex wasn't alone. Hundreds of people had gathered in the park for what everyone called Rex Day. News crews from around the country filmed the crowd. The hashtag #ShockRexNewBeginning was trending on social media worldwide. Rex sat on his bench one last time, but Thomas Mitchell sat beside him now. On Rex's other side sat 10-year-old Jamie Peterson, the girl who had changed everything. "Look at all these people," Jamie said in wonder. "They all came to say goodbye to you, Rex." Rex looked at the crowd with curious eyes. He recognized many faces. Miguel, who had brought him water every morning. Dr. Rodriguez, who had cared for his health from a distance. Mary Patterson and Tom Bradley, and the Kowalski family. Frank Morrison, who had tried so hard to solve the mystery. They were all crying, but they were smiling too. Mayor Byron Brown stepped up to a small microphone. "Today we celebrate more than one dog's loyalty," he said. "We celebrate the power of community, the strength of hope, and the healing that comes when we refuse to give up on each other." The crowd clapped loudly. Rex's ears flattened at the noise, but Jamie petted his head to calm him. "Rex has taught Buffalo something important," the mayor continued. "Love doesn't end when someone leaves us. Love finds new ways to grow." Sarah Chen from Animal Control spoke next. "In my 20 years of this job, I've never seen anything like Rex's story. He could have given up hundreds of times. Instead, he showed us what faithfulness really means. But the most important speech came from Thomas Mitchell himself. He stood up slowly, his legs shaking with nervousness. "A year ago, my father brought Rex to this park," Thomas began. "Dad was sick with dementia, and that day his mind was more confused than usual. When he told Rex to wait here, Dad really believed he was coming back." The crowd listened in complete silence. "I've spent 365 days feeling guilty about what happened. I thought I had failed my father and failed Rex, but I was wrong." Thomas looked down at Rex with love. "My father didn't leave Rex here by accident. Somehow, even with his sick mind, Dad knew Rex would find the help he needed." Thomas's voice grew stronger. "Dad brought Rex to a place where good people walk their dogs every day. A place where kind souls like Miguel and Dr. Rodriguez work. A place where a special little girl named Jamie comes to play." Jamie blushed as the crowd looked at her with admiration. "Rex didn't just find a community here," Thomas continued. "He created one. He brought together people who might never have met. He taught us all how to love without conditions." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward with a special announcement. "The Buffalo Veterinary Society is creating the Rex Mitchell Award for Animal Loyalty. Every year we'll honor a pet who shows extraordinary devotion to their family." More announcements followed. The city was installing a bronze plaque on Rex's bench. The Friends of Rex group was donating Rex's shelter to other animals in need. A local author was writing a children's book about Rex's story. But Rex wasn't listening to the speeches anymore. He was watching Jamie, who seemed quieter than usual. "What's wrong?" Thomas asked her. Jamie wiped her eyes. "I'm happy for Rex. I really am. But I'm going to miss him so much." We've been best friends for almost a year. Thomas smiled. Jamie, do you remember what I promised yesterday? Jamie nodded. You said I could visit Rex anytime. Not just visit, Thomas said. I want you to be part of Rex's daily life. Would you like to help me take care of him? Walk him after school? Play frisbee in my backyard? Jamie's face lit up like sunshine. Really? You mean it? Rex saved your life, Thomas said. But you saved his heart. I think you two belong together. Rex's tail wagged so hard his whole body shook. This was perfect. He could have a new home with Thomas and still keep his friendship with Jamie. The ceremony continued, but Rex was ready for it to end. He was ready to see his new home. He was ready to sleep in a warm house instead of a shelter. He was ready to play with his squeaky red frisbee in a real yard. Most of all, he was ready to stop looking backward and start looking forward. As the crowd began to thin out, Rex stood up from his bench. He walked to his water bowl and his food dishes. He sniffed his old blankets one last time. These things had kept him alive during the hardest year of his life. Miguel was packing up Rex's supplies. Don't worry, boy, he said. I'm bringing everything to your new house, your toys, your blankets, even your favorite tennis ball. Rex wagged his tail in gratitude. Miguel had been so kind to him. Dr. Rodriguez approached with a special gift. This is a new collar, she said, showing Rex a beautiful leather collar with a bright name tag. It says Rex Mitchell with Thomas's phone number. You'll never be lost again. Rex let her put the new collar around his neck. It felt snug and secure, like a promise. Jamie had a gift too. She pulled a small photo album from her backpack. I made this for you, she said, showing Rex pictures from throughout his year at the park. So you'll always remember all the people who loved you here. The photos showed Rex in every season. Rex in spring rain. Rex with his summer fans. Rex playing in autumn leaves. Rex wearing a Christmas sweater that someone had brought him. But the last photo was the most special. It showed Rex, Jamie, and Thomas together yesterday, all smiling. Rex's first family photo in over a year. Ready to go home, boy? Thomas asked. Rex looked around Riverside Park one more time. He looked at his bench, where he had spent 365 days hoping and waiting. He looked at the path where he had watched for Robert's return. This place would always be special to Rex. This was where he learned that loyalty wasn't just about waiting. Loyalty was also about accepting love when it finally arrived. Rex picked up his squeaky red frisbee in his mouth. Then he walked toward Thomas's car, Jamie skipping beside him. The crowd cheered as Rex left Riverside Park for the last time. People threw flower petals and took pictures. Children waved goodbye with tears in their eyes. Rex didn't look back. He had spent a whole year looking backward. Now it was time to look ahead. At Thomas's house, Rex discovered a wonderful surprise. Thomas had set up a room just for him, with a soft bed, food bowls, and all his favorite toys. But the best surprise was in the backyard. Look, Rex, Jamie said, opening the back door. A whole yard just for you. Rex ran outside and felt grass under his paws for the first time in a year. He rolled on his back in the sunshine. He chased a butterfly that landed on his nose. He felt young again. Thomas threw the red frisbee, and Rex caught it perfectly. The doo-doo squeak made all three of them laugh. Dad would be so happy, Thomas said quietly. He always wanted Rex to have a yard to play in. That night, Rex slept in a real bed for the first time in 365 days. Thomas had put the bed right next to his own, so Rex wouldn't feel alone. As Rex drifted off to sleep, he thought about Robert. He would always love his first family. He would always remember the gentle hands and the shaky voice that called him "good boy." But now, Rex understood something important. Love doesn't die when someone goes away. Love grows bigger to include new people. Love makes room for Thomas's steady strength and Jamie's bright laughter. Rex dreamed that night, but not about waiting on a cold bench. He dreamed about tomorrow, about playing frisbee with Jamie after school, about long walks with Thomas through Buffalo's neighborhoods, about being part of a family again. In his dream, Rex heard Robert's voice one last time. "Good boy, Rex," the voice said. "You waited long enough. Now go live, go be happy, go love again." When Rex woke up the next morning, his tail was already wagging. The girl had arrived, just like the title promised. Not to adopt him, but to help him understand that sometimes the greatest loyalty means learning to love again. Rex's year of waiting was over. His lifetime of living had just begun. Rex taught us that sometimes the greatest act of faithfulness isn't waiting forever, but learning when it's time to open our hearts to new beginnings. Through Jamie's arrival and Thomas's patient love, Rex discovered that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means honoring it by choosing to live again. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell us your city or country. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories that celebrate the bond between humans and animals. Your support helps us share these meaningful tales with the world. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. Rex's story reminds us all that kindness, patience, and love can heal even the deepest heartbreak. Together, we can spread awareness about animal loyalty, the challenges of dementia, and the importance of never giving up hope. Thank you for joining us on Rex's journey from waiting to living, from heartbreak to healing. Until next time, remember, love always finds a way.